Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for World Cup Fantasy content. Today we are going to rank the most popular World Cup Fantasy assets in different categories depending on how good they are. We're going to rate them all, we're going to rank them all, and we're going to see who are the best ones to buy and the ones who we should probably be avoiding. Guys, if you like this video, please do hit the like button. Can we hit 750 likes on this video? That would be absolutely amazing. And do subscribe if you want more World Cup Fantasy content on your screens. Okay, so we've got 5 categories: must-haves, great options, optionals, meh, and avoid. So depending on how good they are, the higher they'll go up on this chart. We've got 30 players to go through. If any player is not on this list who you want me to talk about, just drop me a comment and let me know what players you want me to talk about, and we'll put them in some categories as well in the comment section. But let's start off, first of all, guys, with the 30th most popular player in the game, moving up to the #1 most popular player in the game to buy, and that is going to be Jude Bellingham, who I'm going to put in the avoid category straight away. And I want to clarify this, guys. What I'm going to be doing is ranking these players based on how good they are as fantasy assets, like how good they are for your fantasy team, not how good they are as players, and I'm going to be taking their price into consideration as well as their position. So Bellingham is just not really suited to fantasy football games, I don't think, really. England don't really score too many goals, they don't really create too much, so I don't think Bellingham is going to do too well. I won't be having him anywhere near my team, even though I think he's a good player. Just don't think this is kind of suited to him. Ronaldo, I'm going to put in optional. I don't think it's easy to get Ronaldo in because I think there's so many other great players that you will probably want to have in your team. And I also do worry about Ronaldo's headspace right now going into this tournament with Portugal. I do think he is definitely a player you can have in your World Cup Fantasy team, but he is definitely not an essential player, and I think you could possibly live without him if you wanted to. Bergwijn, I think, is a great option. For 7 million, he's listed as a midfielder, but he's actually going to be playing as a striker for the Netherlands, and he's super nailed on as well, playing really good football at the moment and doing really, really good things for his value for money. I'm going to put Marquinhos here in the meh category. I don't think it's a bad pick necessarily, but he's not a pick that excites me very much. I think if we're going to go for some defenders, particularly at 5.5 million, we do want to be picking some defenders who are, you know, getting regular goals, because goals really do get you so many points as a defender. 7 points for goals if you're a defender. So we want those goal scoring defenders, and a Marquinhos is just not one of those players, unfortunately. He's probably going to get he would be lucky to get 1 goal in this tournament, if I'm totally honest. Costa, I think, is a great option, a really great option, in fact. Diogo Costa is the new Portugal starting goalkeeper, and he is playing very, very well. And also, he is only 5 million. And of all of the big teams in the tournament, Costa is actually going to be the cheapest goalkeeper out of the cheapest starting goalkeeper of all the big teams. So I think he's definitely a player who I recommend. Even more so, DePaul. I absolutely love this pick. I think this is an absolutely great pick. He's 5 million, so let's not expect as much points as, you know, Messi or someone like that. But for 5 million, I don't think you can do any better in terms of value for money. He is going to be getting the occasional assist. He is going to get the occasional goal. He's fairly creative, to be fair, for Argentina, but he's also creating a lot of chances for his teammates. And remember, midfielders pick up points for creating key chances and also tackles made. So DePaul is going to be creating, he's going to be tackling, he's going to be doing everything, and he could quickly pick up points that is going to make his 5 million price tag look absolutely silly. So I think he is a phenomenal pick, and he's a player who is almost certainly going to be in my team come the match day 1 deadline. I'm going to put Benzema in, I think, probably somewhere between a great option and optional. I guess we have to put him in optional. If we're putting Ronaldo in there, I think we have to put Benzema in optional as well. But I do want to put him in a great option. And maybe I should bump Ronaldo up 1 more level as well. But I feel like Benzema is just one of those players who is just so good for France. I believe he is the main man at France in terms of their attack. The one thing that puts me off France attackers a little bit is that their goals are shared between Benzema, Mbappe, Griezmann. So you're not really sure who is going to get the points. That's kind of the difficulty there. But the great thing about Benzema is he's also going to be on penalties for France. So I actually think he's a really good option to have in your team. We've got an opening game against Australia for France, so that could be pretty nice. So yeah, Benzema definitely a great option to have. Pavard, I'm going to put in somewhere between meh and optional. I guess I'll put him in optional just because he's not really going to offer you any attacking threat, but he's a little bit cheaper than Marquinhos and he is going to offer you clean sheets for 5 million. you could do a lot worse. You know, there's going to be clean sheets there, which is pretty nice. Musiala is such a difficult one. I'm really struggling to place him. I'm going to put him in optional. The reason I'm putting him in optional is because he hasn't really performed in terms of getting fantasy points for Germany so far. That said, his club form for Bayern Munich is amazing. He is playing so well right now, and he is one of those players who this could be his breakout tournament. And I feel like in the World Cup, you have these breakout players where everyone sees them for the first time, or maybe they've not seen very much of the player before, and they see this player and they think, wow, this guy is amazing. And I think Musiala could become that guy for this tournament. But because he hasn't performed at international level yet, it's difficult for me to say, let's go for him. So let's put him in optional. He hasn't scored many goals or assists yet for Germany yet. He's going there. Pickford, I think, is definitely optional. I like the England goalkeepers and defenders just because England, they don't score very often, but they are also quite good in terms of defence. So I'm actually going to be reasonably confident in Pickford. I think he's pretty good, and he seems to do very well for England as well. Rudiger, I'm going to put down here with Marquinhos. I don't hate the pick, but Rudiger for Germany, I think he's only scored a couple of goals ever for Germany as well, so that's not amazing. He's another one of those players. He's going to get like 1 goal every 10 games, which is no guarantee he's going to get any goals in this tournament. I'm also not sure if I fully trust the German defence after their performance at the Euros as well. Martinez is going to go into the avoid category. The one thing I do like about Martinez is that I do think Argentina have a good chance of keeping some clean sheets in this tournament, particularly in the group stage. But 6 million for a player who offers no attacking threat. Remember, defenders, the only real value in defenders, because there's no bonus points, because we lose so many points when they concede, the only value is goal-scoring defenders, and Martinez is just not one of them, and he's quite expensive as well. It doesn't really make sense. Modric doesn't fill me with joy, if I'm honest. 8.5 million is a lot. He should be doing a lot for Croatia, but I'm not sure how Croatia are going to do in this tournament. They've got a little bit of an aging team there, so not fully convinced. Phil Foden is also a meh. I'm going to put him even lower than Modric, just because although Foden is a good player, I think he's only got a few goal contributions at all. You know, I think he's got 1 goal and maybe 5 assists or something like that in his England career, and all of these goals and assists have come against the likes of, you know, Moldova, San Marino, none of the big teams. So he hasn't yet performed in this England team, but again, how can you be surprised when this England team doesn't score very many goals? So it's probably going to be a bit of a waste of money going for Foden, to be honest. Now, Mela, the first kind of name you may not have heard of on this list, but the first name that he's going to go in the must-have category, because believe me, guys, if you guys watched the Euros a year or so ago, you will remember just how insanely good this guy is, and how cheap he is in this fantasy game is just an absolute joke. This guy is unreal. He plays as a left wing back / left midfielder. He cuts inside on his, he plays on the left, but uses his right foot to shoot and pass and score a lot of goals. And he does score a lot of goals for Denmark. So Denmark, who I think are a very strong team, a good defense. We've got a cheap defender who is also going to score goals. Absolute must-have. There is no way that you should be going without Joachim Mehler in your team. Got to be had. Now, Trossard, I'm going to put in the avoid section as well. I feel like I'm partially responsible for this, but a lot of people are buying Trossard right now. I actually made a mistake in a video a couple of days ago where I said I thought that Trossard was going to start. The more I research it, the less it looks like Trossard is going to get game time, really. I don't think he's going to get too much game time. So, although the price looks good, unfortunately, he's probably going to have more bench appearances than starting appearances, which is probably not going to be good enough. I think Harry Kane goes in the optional department around Ronaldo. The thing is, if one player is going to score for England, it's probably going to be Kane. He's probably going to stat pad on the penalties. And you know what? I'm actually going to bump him up a little bit higher than Ronaldo, just because England do have such an easy group, I suppose, at the World Cup. So there should be more opportunities for Kane to score and stat pad on his penalties. Leroy Sané, I think, is going to be a optional, probably. I feel like the fact that he's a midfielder and there's not that many midfielders to choose from does boost him up a little bit. But I know a lot of people are hyping up Sané in this fantasy game, but if I'm completely honest, Sané doesn't score that many goals for Germany. He doesn't really create very much. He's not going to be making any tackles. So where are his points going to come from? It's difficult to say. He'll get the occasional goal, yes, but I don't know. I just feel like this is not going to be as good as everyone thinks it's going to be. It's good to have an advanced player, playing, who's listed as a midfielder but playing more advanced up the pitch as a winger, but still, I just can't see him getting that many fantasy points, to be honest. Like, not an insane amount. I think a lot of the other players are going to do a little bit better than him. Christian Eriksen, for example, a little bit cheaper than Sane. I think is going to absolutely dominate him for fantasy points just because of the type of players they are and their roles within their respective teams. Alisson, I'm going to put in meh. I guess the good thing about Alisson is that he will make a lot of saves because he's playing in a difficult group, and he is, arguably the best shot stopper in the world at the moment, and he will pick up save points, which is the one saving grace that he will have. Like, that is the only benefit really of going for a goalkeeper, is that one that's going to go for a lot of saves. I do still prefer the cheaper goalkeepers, but in terms of expensive goalkeepers, Alisson would be up there for me. Van Dijk is going to go, I feel like he has to go somewhere in the meh category. The good thing about the Netherlands is that they do have a good and easy group where I don't think they'll concede too many goals. And Van Dijk is an aerial threat, isn't he? But he's not a player that is guaranteed goals. But it could happen, and clean sheets look like they're on the card. So it's kind of a, if you want to risk it, go for it. But he is pretty expensive at 6 million. And there is another Netherlands defender who we'll speak about in a minute, who I do prefer. Valverde, I'm going to put him in the avoid category. I know a lot of people are pretty hyped up about Valverde, and I know he is a fantastic football player. But the truth is, he is not getting, goals. He is not getting assists. I think he's got something like 4 goals and 1 assist in 45 appearances for Uruguay. That's like 1 return every 10 games. That is like centre-back levels of returns. That's really not very good at all. So really difficult for me to recommend Valverde. Like, it costs a lot of money, 8.5 million for a player that doesn't really score, who doesn't really assist. He may create a little bit, but not very much. Not enough to get a lot of points for key passes. And, you could say that, yes, he might make some tackles in the game. Every 3 tackles, you'll get 1 point. But I think maybe you're overestimating how many tackles players make per game. That's not really a way you can get loads and loads of points. It's just kind of a nice little bonus extra. And if you haven't got anything to add the extra to, I don't know. I just can't see Valverde getting very many points in this tournament. He just doesn't strike me as a player who is suited to these fantasy games, I guess. Dumfries up next. I really like this player. I think he's a great option. I'm going to have to put him all the way up here because the Netherlands have a fantastic group. They're a reasonably strong defence, and Dumfries is a goal machine. And what we keep talking about is those goal-scoring defenders and how important goal-scoring defenders are in this game, because 7 points per goal really is absolutely insane. So I can see many times Dumfries is going to get those, 15 pointers, if you like, during this tournament. I can see that happening a couple of times, particularly in the group stage. So, yeah, let's see what Dumfries can do. If he's anything like how he was in the Euros, then he is going to be an absolute must-have. But for now, we'll put him in a great option because I feel like I would have reserved the must-have categories for the best of the best. Of which Courtois is not going to be, by the way. I'm actually going to put him below Alisson. I'm going to put him in the meh category. If you want to go for him, you kind of could do, but look, there's some other players that in goal particularly that I do prefer. We've already got several goalkeepers on this tier list that I do prefer to Courtois. So, he's an okay one, but he doesn't excite me that much. So he goes in the meh category. It's like, whatever. If you guys want to go for him, go for him. If you don't, that's fine too. Trippier, I'm going to put in, I want to put him in great option. I really do like this pick. He is most likely going to be on corners and free kicks, which is going to be, good for potentially getting the odd assist and maybe a goal as well. And England with their clean sheet potential as well in this very easy group. England could go 3 for 3 clean sheets in this group stage. They really could very easily do that. And you probably back them to do that more than you'd back them to score a load of goals. So maybe Trippier could be an insane pickup at 5 million. And he's in such good form at club level as well. FPL players, you guys will know that more than anyone. Neymar is a really difficult one. I think he's a phenomenal player, but the group he has is fairly difficult. And the good thing about Neymar is that everything Brazil do pretty much goes through him. So he's going to be able to pick up a lot of points. He's going to be taking shots on. He's going to be taking all the set pieces. He's going to pick up a lot of points fairly naturally. So therefore, where would I put him? I think he is a great option. Would I put him ahead of Benzema? Probably not for the opening game. For the opening game, for your Matchday 1 team, I feel like it's more important to have Benzema against Australia more than it is to have Neymar against Serbia. So therefore, I think that drops Neymar down a little bit. But I think as we go throughout the tournament, we probably will see Neymar being one of the highest scoring players in the tournament. It's just at the point, what point do you get him in? Can the likes of Benzema outscore him? Quite possibly. Mbappe, I feel like he is going to drop slightly below Neymar. I feel like Mbappe is a great option against Australia particularly. You know what? In fact, I'm going to put him slightly below Neymar. I think what holds Mbappe back from Neymar and Benzema is that he's a little bit more expensive. So that's a point, in the favour of Benzema and Neymar. But also the fact that Mbappe is not going to be on any set pieces. Benzema and Neymar, both on penalties. They're going to be, Neymar is going to be the main man. Benzema is probably going to be the main man for France as well. Benzema does typically, when they're playing together, Benzema and Mbappe, seems like Benzema is getting more goals at the moment than Mbappe. I know they're both fantastic players, but this is the thing I hate. Like I said earlier, the thing I hate about France and picking France forwards is that who do you pick? You can't have them all. They're going to share responsibilities. And what I prefer in a fantasy player is a player who is just hogging everything, like Neymar, who has everything. Like Eriksen, who has everything. Everything goes through him. They take all the shots. They make all the passes. They take all the set pieces. That's the kind of player I like in any fantasy game. And with France, it's difficult to find that player. Maybe Griezmann is even worth a shout for that. Cancelo, I feel like he's difficult to place. Would I put him ahead of some of these other defenders? Probably not, to be honest, but he is still a great option. I'm going to put him like here. In fact, I'm going to drop Bergwijn down a little bit because, let's be honest, Benzema, Neymar, Mbappe, they're goats, aren't they? But Cancelo is probably the defensive, goat in a way. But for Portugal, is he going to be getting as many goals and assists as some of these other players? I think Dumfries is a more attacking player than Cancelo is, for example. And then Trippier and Mela maybe equally as attacking as Cancelo, but at those cheaper prices. So out of the defenders we've got on this tier list, Cancelo is definitely a great option, but I'm not sure he's quite, at the level of some of those other players if you consider their attacking outputs and their price as well. So Cancelo, still a great option, but not quite in the elite options. Now, De Bruyne, I think, I'm going to put him in the great option category. I'm going to put him here. He is almost a must-have. He is almost a must-have, just because he is the best midfielder to have in the game. And like I was saying earlier, De Bruyne in this Belgium team is the player who makes all the passes, who creates everything, who takes all the set pieces for Belgium as well. So he's going to have so many opportunities to score points. And because of the 1 point for every 2 key passes made, that is going to be a surefire way for De Bruyne to pick up so many fantasy points. So many fantasy, because he creates non-stop for his teammates, and maybe his teammates won't score on every one of their shots, but when he's taking the corners, when he's creating from open play, every one of those chances that leads to a goal scoring opportunity is going to be more points for De Bruyne, and he's going to pick those points up like crazy. And he fills one of those midfield slots. It's easy to pick forwards, it's much harder to pick midfielders, and therefore De Bruyne, I think, it's got to be in most of our teams, if I'm honest. I think he is that good. And one more player on this tier list, and that's the 30 done. It's going to be Messi. He goes to the top of the whole list. 10.5 million for this player. How on earth have they managed to price him so cheaply? I have no idea. He plays Saudi Arabia in the opening game. Argentina have some great fixtures in the group stage. Messi is a player who everything goes through. I was looking at the Argentina statistics, and it's like 80% of Argentina goals have Messi involved in it in some way or another. Mostly him scoring it, but also him creating as well. So if Argentina score 5 goals against Saudi Arabia, it's a nice 5-0 or something like that, we are literally talking about 4 Messi goal involvements based on the statistics that we've seen for years and years and years. So therefore, it is just so obvious to have him in your team, and I cannot imagine a team without Messi in. Tell me, guys, are any of you guys gonna go without Messi in your World Cup fantasy team? If you are, I think you're crazy. But there we go, guys. We're going to leave it there. That is the tier list that I've come up with. That's the final positions, in my opinion. But do let me know, have I misplaced anyone? Do you think anyone is really out of place, should go in a completely different category? Do you think Messi should go in a void? Do you think Valverde should go in the must-have category? Let me know. And if there's any other player that I haven't mentioned today, tell me in the comments, and we'll try and place those players as well. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching today. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like on it. That would be massively, massively appreciated. And we've got loads more World Cup fantasy content to come as well. I've already made a few videos on the channel, so do go check them out. We've got a how to play guide if you've got any questions on how to actually play the game. We've got a whole video dedicated to set piece takers, which is very important that you guys go and watch that. I learned so much creating that video, so I hope you guys learned something by watching it as well. And another video as well based around cheap players, you know, those slightly cheaper players that you might use to fill the gaps in your squad as well. But there we go. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next World Cup Fantasy video, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.